Hello and welcome to the Hancock Creative Podcast. I'm Shawn Hancock.
And I'm Missy Hancock.
And I'm Vinton Bain.
Today we're talking about the imagination.
Ooh,
Or
I like it, imagination.
the importance of daydreaming.
Daydreaming.
Yes, I like it. People think of imagination as a kid's thing, but it is not just a kid's thing. Imagination is for everyone, and it's a tool for creating a better life for yourself. It's probably the most important tool in the artist or creative's toolbox. Am I right, Shawn Hancock? Talk to me.
Yes, that is correct. You have a toolbox,
I do.
and this is one of the important tools in the toolbox.
Imagination.
The normal people of this world like to think of the imagination as kid stuff.
Oh, no, they don't.
But
Oh, yes, they do.
oh yes they do. But it is not just kid stuff. It is a very powerful tool in the toolbox of the artist or creative person. And it is how the world gets things done. It is how the world becomes what it is.
It's how we create a better life for ourselves.
That's right. Yeah. So it is highly important for everyone. What we think a lot about the imagination, it goes much deeper than this, but what we think about the most is like fantasy world or something like that, you know, where we can sit and daydream and we can think of all kinds of things like that. And that's what we often think that the imagination is.
Imagination isn't just for children, and even that part of imagination, which we have like dubbed a childish way of thinking, isn't particularly a childish way of thinking. The make-believe, the just creating worlds and characters. C.S. Lewis, I have a great quote. I want to talk about C.S. Lewis because him and his brother, I think it's one of the best, the most fun examples of a child's imagination following them into adulthood and becoming something. And they had created, him and his brother Warney had created Boxen, which was a land, another land, and it had all these tons of kings and queens and characters and talking animals and all this, and it turned out that it was the precursor for Narnia. As he grew older, it transformed and morphed into his mind into Narnia, which is freaking awesome. And so, but C.S. Lewis actually said, critics who treat adult as a term of approval instead of as a merely descriptive term cannot be adult themselves. To be concerned about being grown up, to admire the grown up because it is grown up, to blush at the suspicion of being childish. These are the marks of childhood and adolescence. And in childhood and adolescence, they are, in moderation, healthy symptoms. Young things ought to want to grow. But to carry on into middle life or even into early manhood, this concern about being adult is a mark of really arrested development. When I was 10, I read fairy tales in secret and would have been ashamed if I had been found doing so. Now that I am 50, I read them openly. When I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. And I think that that is that's a great argument for grown-ups letting themselves imagine other worlds. And I mean, that's what every great writer does, I think, even if your other world is just another character's life, even if
dull.
it's in this world, it's dull, you know, it's just another character's life. You're still imagining other places and ways of being. And
Whenever we were kids, we always used to say, let's make believe, or, you know, use that terminology.
Yes.
Let's make believe. And
welcome to the land of make believe.
And I think it's interesting when you look at the, you know, that phrase make believe, where the beginning is make. It's like creating a belief, or creating, you know, what you believe, or creating fantasy, or building something, or
creating something to believe in.
It's like you're actually making it. You're actually constructing the fantasy world or whatever, you know, thinking about it in the sense of, you know, we'd said toolbox terminology or whatever, but it's like you actually are going about the business of constructing something fanciful, something wonderful, a world that has never been explored or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's like you are the creator in that. You are making that.
That is what make-believe is, making the unreal real.
Yeah.
The unbelievable believable.
There's a Dr. Seuss quote I would like to share. I really like. I like nonsense. It wakes up the brain cells. Fantasy is a necessary ingredient in living. It's a way of looking at life through the wrong end of a telescope, which is what I do. And that enables you to laugh at life's realities.
I love Dr. Seuss. That's awesome. That's a good one.
It is a good one.
So when I was a child, I was, much like I am now, an amiable, people-pleasing type person, which does not make for really great stories. It's like, oh, there was this one time and this thing happened, and then Missy was all like totally cooperative. It's just like, I was always jealous of my sister, because my sister, on the other hand, was what gets dubbed a difficult child, I think, just because she was real stubborn and obstinate, and she, walked way, way early at like 8 months and all that stuff. So my parents are full of great stories about my sister. But there's one story about me that my dad tells that is kind of my story, because I didn't have that many. I was pretty easygoing kid. Not particularly ornery, I guess. But this one, and it was about my imagination. And apparently when I was like 3 or 4 years old, my dad said, "Missy, I'm going to get you. I'm a lion." And he started roar, and he started growling, roar. And I was laughing and running, and he's crawling towards me. And he says he'll never forget looking at my little face and it transforming from "this is a fun game" to "oh my God, it's a lion." And I started screaming bloody murder, running from him. And then, of course, he's trying to comfort me. So the lion grabbed the hold of me and tried to kill me. And so I was screaming. And my dad's like, no, it's daddy. I'm not a lion. And it took him a while to get me like calmed back down.
The whole time I'm like, I am trying to
get away from a lion. And so it's like there's a few stories from my childhood where I was like, yeah, that was funny, but I was like, yeah, I had a good imagination.
Yeah, I was going to say, that is one hell of an imagination.
That's one hell of an imagination. My dad, the lion. So I had lost all grip on reality, and he had indeed turned into a lion. But that is one of my favorite things about the imagination, is that it is an escape from reality. And why is that a bad thing in our culture?
Well, people frown on it all the time. But, I mean, the truth is, people are always trying to escape reality.
They are always trying to escape reality. I mean, even when it doesn't come to imagination, they try to escape reality with work. They try to escape reality with just anything, really. It doesn't have to be entertainment. It doesn't have to be anything creative. It can be going to work and doing your accounting stuff just to escape your house and escape your family, or
that is true.
reality.
Yeah, people use work all the time to escape their home life or whatever. But I mean, we're always trying to escape, through in books or in movies or in internet or whatever it is, and nobody seems to have a problem with that. But if a kid or somebody was to sit and daydream, then oh my God, people would have a shit fit, wouldn't they? Yeah. It's just like, what are you doing? You need to be doing some work. Get out there and mow the lawn or some shit like that.
That little Billy of yours, he's just a dreamer.
Yeah. Got his head in the clouds.
Yeah, that's right. And that was a story of my childhood. Whenever I would be sitting in class staring out the window, I mean, almost every teacher I had would have to get on to me about getting back to my work. And basically, just short of flipping them off or whatever, I just completely ignored them. I just went right back to daydreaming. And I think that's probably was a good thing for me.
It was a good thing for you. With every bit of me that is a people pleaser and wants to please, you have this fierce, like, individual, I don't know, just devotion. Not that you're selfish.
To ignore everyone.
Well,
the nonconformist.
Really, nonconformist. It's a devotion to your own belief system. And it's like, no. The teacher's like, you need to get back to that workbook sheet. And you're like, oh, hell no. I'm in another land.
Don't interrupt me, woman.
Exactly.
I'm working here.
That's right. And you were.
Well, I think the human mind needs to escape. And I think that, before all this technology and the written word or whatever, I mean, we were equipped as human beings with a way to escape, and that's our own imagination. And I think it's healthy for us to take time and escape reality and daydream and create worlds in our head and create ourselves as a hero, as the adventurer, as that person that we want to be or whatever. And I think that actually helps us develop into that.
Absolutely, yes, because we're practicing in our head.
Yeah, I think it can be difficult to use the word escape for it. I think that almost gives it the wrong connotation, because imagination really can be used to help you deal with the reality.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily running from the reality. It's a tool that you can use to deal with the reality. It helps you find ways to cope and deal. And
process.
We can get so super focused on the reality. It gives us a way to step out. There's a Doctor Who episode from the newest season where he's falling and he goes in, like they stop the scene of him falling and he's in his TARDIS talking to his companion.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, okay, so I've already survived this fall and everything's done. But then you realize he's in his head, and that's how he solves problems. He's stopped using his imagination, going, okay, this problem's over. Now, how did I solve it? Let me figure it out. And it's like, that's not escaping reality. That's dealing with reality through imagination.
Yeah,
and so I think it's a misconception people have that it's escapism, quote unquote. You're not escaping. You're dealing with it. You're using it as a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool to be used to cope with reality.
Well, even if it's nonsensical, like, I mean, this happens with dreams, just like regular dreams all the time. Was if you recount a dream that you had, it may seem like nonsense, but whenever you think about the symbolism in it or whatever, it starts to make sense.
You start seeing, oh, that's because you're worried about losing your job. And this is because blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And so I think that while we sleep, our mind is processing our reality. And I think without the imagination and without dreaming, we would probably go insane. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's a cool Edgar Allan Poe quote. They who dream by day are cognizant of many things which escape those who dream only by night. And I think that proves it right there.
Edgar Allan Poe proved it.
Yes, he proved it.
Bam! Right there. All right. So the moral of this story is, don't quit your daydream, all right? Because, that's what keeps us all going. According to Shawn, keeps us sane.
Yeah.
But something Vinton was saying here when you were talking about, well, all the stuff you were just talking about.
I'm helping.
You are helping. You're amazing.
He was talking about Doctor Who.
Well, it leads right into Viktor Frankl's story. Do you know about him?
I don't.
Vinton?
I don't think so anyways. The name sounds familiar.
Well, he wrote Man's Search for Meaning, and...
Oh, yeah, I know that. That's how I know that name.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I have not, but I know about it.
All right. Anyone listening, if you have not read this book, it's pretty good. I'll just say, it was pretty good. I really loved it. But it kind of tells his, gripping, inspirational story of his experiences in Auschwitz, the concentration camp, during World War II. Well, while he was in the concentration camp, he realized that he had one single freedom left, and that was he had the power to determine his response to his environment. So he chose to use his imagination to help him survive. And so he would imagine him and his wife together. He would imagine moving forward in his career after the concentration camp. He would imagine, he would sit and think on these things that kept him sane and kept him feeling like he
was imagining normal life.
He was imagining normal life. He was imagining that he would he was imagining life after the concentration camp. He was not imagining dying there. He was imagining a time when he would no longer be there, and I think that in itself is the strength of character to go ahead and imagine that when you have people dying all around you, and not just giving up hope. And so I think it's really great that he developed a whole psychotherapeutic method or whatever.
Similar to that Life is Beautiful movie, which I guess is probably fiction, but it's the same principle is that the imagination takes you away from this hell that you're living in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes me think about visualization and the power that it has.
Yes.
It's more like magic.
It is.
Really? Okay, so I'm kind of into quotes today for some reason.
We didn't have any in the last one, I think.
So we're overdoing it now. Okay, but here's one. Imagination rules the world. Can you guess who that one is from?
Well, it's not really fair for me to guess because I have it written down. Vinton, can you guess who said that? Imagination rules the world. You can't look at our notes. Stop it.
It sounds really familiar, but I don't know.
It sounds something like Disney or something like that. But
Imagination rules the world.
Willy
but
Wonka.
no,
Willy Wonka.
it does.
Yeah.
Another magical person.
Magical person. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh, I
Yes.
would have never gotten that. I see now this was a trick question.
Anyway.
Yeah, it sounds all magical, but really...
It's Napoleon.
Napoleon. And another one is the man who has no imagination has no wings. That one's a little more familiar.
Is that a Red Bull thing?
No, that is Muhammad Ali.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think it's
So
interesting.
two conquerors.
Yeah, that's right. They were not known artistically, right? But they were conquerors. And what I think happened, they both value the imagination. So what I think they did, they visualized their victories.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Now that's just my theory. I could be wrong, but
They imagine
think I am.
conquering. I don't think you're wrong either. And
yeah, so I think that says something about the importance of visualization. And often, when you read success books or stories or whatever, it really centers around visualization, visualizing what you want, and then going for it and taking the steps to get there.
yes.
And so that is a process that we have tried to use a few times.
Oh, yeah, I use it all the time.
Not as successful as Napoleon.
No, I've yet to conquer the world, but give me time. But there's another quote that you skipped, I think, that is a really good one. This William Arthur Ward, he was a writer.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And it's, if you can imagine it, you can achieve it. If you can dream it, you can become it. I think it's probably like the slogan for most graduating classes. But it's one of those quotes, but it is a good one.
It's a good one, yeah. Yeah, and so we have this process that we have done a few times that you just sit and you visualize the entire, like we've put on a few art shows and things like that, but if you sit and you visualize the whole experience, okay, so you imagine yourself as a guest to this art show,
Mm-hmm.
and what does it look like when they walk through the door? What's there? What is the whole experience for them? And then you take that and you really try to imagine the details, and you take that and you make your list
Yeah.
of what needs to happen in order for that experience to take place for that person. And so we did that process because we kind of got stuck when we were helping Vinton and Tessa with their wedding. We kind of got stuck and almost, because it was an emotional thing for us as well. But it was...
Well, and Tessa was really starting to get emotional and be like, I don't even know. Oh. And we're trying to... And I mean, they had a very bohemian wedding, I would say. A really cool, funky wedding.
She doesn't even know about marrying this guy? Is that what you're saying?
No, it wasn't.
It was very simple and out on some country land and not a lot of planning needed.
Wow. I got to say, though, there was some planning that went into
yeah,
it.
but not as much as normal weddings
It's
where you have
not
to
an
book a
insane
venue
wedding.
and you hire
Yeah,
a
no.
wedding planner. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have
But there was a
12
lot of
different types
stuff.
of candles and 14 colors of flowers. And
That's right. I mean, it was a small wedding, but there was a lot of stuff that needed to happen, and you guys were becoming really overwhelmed. Mostly it was food was mostly the thing, and there was a lot of other details. But what we did was we sat down and we said, okay, let's think about this. Let's imagine that we're attending this.
Well, you
and we're
told
going to go
Tessa to
through
imagine
the whole thing. And then,
imagine her wedding and not to hang on to what she thinks a wedding's supposed to be, but just to imagine.
Yeah, but imagine the whole experience.
Yeah.
And then so you take that and you divide it up into what happens when you come in, what happens at this point, what happens, blah, blah, blah. And then you write down everything, you write down the experience, and then you make a list from that as to what things need to be in place. Okay, and then you take that list and you divide it up. Who is going to take care of this part? Who's going to take care of that part? And so it really was a really cool way to use the imagination to organize an event, get something done that way.
That's genius. How did I not know that happened even?
You weren't there.
You were busy.
You were busy.
She didn't live with me then. So but I didn't mean to underplay how much work went into it. But it wasn't a traditional wedding.
It wasn't a
No,
traditional
It was very
wedding.
artistic and free-spirited.
It was the coolest
Would be
wedding.
the
I
wrong
just have
way
to
to put
say,
it.
at one point, Tessa and her 4 younger sisters danced to Sister, Sister, and it was really great.
I still have people that attended tell me that inspired how they're going to do their wedding.
Aw,
Like, that
that's
was
cool.
the best I've ever been to. That was so great. I want to do my wedding like that.
It was cool. And then there was the soup miracle. Would you like to share the soup miracle? It has nothing to do with this, but while we're talking about it, it's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. We, as in me in my kitchen, catered, and because we're like so laid back, we're like, we don't need RSVPs, because I didn't think about the fact that RSVPs are so you know how many people you're feeding. So we did.
It would have been nice.
We did like 3 or 4 different kinds of soup and baked potatoes, and I don't even remember now. Salad, I think.
Chili.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that was
yeah.
one of the kinds of
Brownies.
soup. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess.
So anyway,
That's right.
but there was, I don't know how many people came, 150 or something
Yeah,
like that.
somewhere
It was a
around
lot.
there.
Yeah. So the people are going through the line and they're getting their soup, and it's out underneath all these trees. And we've got the people who let them use their land had a tractor trailer that we had all the crock pots on and everything. People are going through the line to sit at the different tables that are underneath the trees, and it was so pretty with lights and all that. But the last person went through, and it was the last of the soup, and it was like,
It was
the pot that kept giving.
Yeah. It was like
But anyway,
The
that didn't
story
have
of the
anything to
oil.
do with that didn't really have anything to do with imagination, other than I imagined that it would be a damn fine wedding. There was going to be plenty of food. I imagined it.
You imagine how much food you would need, and it was correct. Because
And it was
imagination
correct.
is a very good tool.
Exactly. One thing visualization is used for that we haven't mentioned that I love, and I hadn't even thought about this, but when we were brainstorming on this, my brilliant husband, Shawn here, reminded me that it's really good for getting over a procrastination slump where you are just like, I can't do this thing. You have this project looming in front of you, and you just can't make yourself do it. And we all have those. And sometimes they're even projects that you don't even mind doing. It's not even something you hate doing. You just don't even know where to start.
Yeah,
you don't feel like starting.
That's the
You
problem.
don't.
Yeah.
And if you stop and visualize that and you see it all the way through, you see the steps, you see it, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I know where to go. And you go to step 1 and you start, and that is how, my friends, you get shit done. So there you have it. A way that imagination can serve you, help you get shit done.
Oh, and on that note, another quote.
Yes, logic. That one.
Yeah.
You want to say it?
Okay. So here's the quote. Logic will get you from A to Z. Imagination will get you everywhere. Albert Einstein.
That's pretty good right there.
I think Einstein is a good example of a person who you wouldn't think of as being a creative, artistic person who has a lot of good quotes about imagination and
Oh my
creativity.
Yeah.
It just shows that science is even creativity. Science is imagination in an
absolutely.
art form.
Yeah.
Well, he has, like, that was one of his main processes, was to sit and imagine. And he would see things. And I mean, it's been a long time. I've read tons of stuff on Einstein because I got hung up on him for a while. But it's been a while, so I can't,
It was the hair, wasn't it?
Huh?
It was that sexy
It was the hair. I love men with like big bushy hair. I don't know what the heck is up with that.
And
but
I've got this flat hair.
Yeah, well, no, it's getting poofier with age. I have to say, as it turns gray, it's like mad scientisting it up. Albert Einstein, I think, had so many quotes on imagination because he used it a lot. That was a huge part of his process. So one thing that I think is really exciting and cool that we stumbled on when we were researching imagination was people are using their imaginations to heal themselves. And that may sound pretty kooky and controversial to some of you, but it is an interesting idea that it's like we can create healing in our bodies sometimes by imagining the healing, imagining certain things. So you should Google it and see what you think about it. But I thought it was great. What I love about it is that it is a good way to just open up your mind to the possibilities of imagination and the possibilities. It's like, how can I utilize imagination in my life? And whether it's just making you less stressed out, that you stop and you just, have an imagination session where you're just visualizing yourself at peace, or visualizing your next vacation, or whatever it is that you like to visualize.
Well, I had a placebo effect or something, where you imagine that it's working and you believe it's working, and then it works. And it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Often.
At the very least, if you don't believe in alternative medicine, you can't deny the scientific evidence for placebo effect.
Yeah.
That if someone believes that they're getting better and they believe that this thing is helping, just a positive mental outlook is scientifically proven to help in situations.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're not saying it's going to absolutely work every time, but it certainly is a lot more helpful than being miserable the whole time
and imagining a quick and painful death.
Yeah.
That's probably not terribly effective. And so,
or maybe it is.
Or maybe it is. Well, it depends on what your goal is.
Depends on what you want.
I guess. I like Mark Twain said, you can't depend on your eyes when your imagination is out of focus. And so just ponder on that one. That one I'm still wrapping my brain around to see if I understand, but I think it backs up what we were just talking about. That reality can be what you're imagining. With the health and all that. So
yeah, well, we create our own reality from what we imagine. I mean,
wait, don't you have a quote on that? Because I feel like there's nothing more pretentious and obnoxious and quite frankly fun than reading a quote from yourself.
Quote.
And so years ago, I mean, I'm talking like our 20-something was a little kid. You wrote a quote down and put your name on it. And so I think we should end it with your quote.
I thought of it in the shower, if that means anything to anyone.
It's going to be really good then. Shower quotes are the best.
That's when great ideas happen in the shower.
That's
I'm
true.
telling you. So my quote is, we imagine reality to be what we can see when reality is what we can only imagine. And
yes.
Is that not pretentious bullshit?
Yeah, it's not. It's true.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. We are so glad that you took time out of your day to listen to us, and we hope that this has encouraged you to imagine, because you need to do it. Use your imagination. It's there for a reason. We just want to give you a practical exercise, because we're trying to end every episode with a practical exercise. And this time we want you to do what we talked about, where if you have a problem, an obstacle, a project, something that you are trying to push through, maybe something you've been procrastinating on, we want you this week to think of something. Even if you don't have any of those things, just think of something to do this with. Because this is your practical homework assignment for creativity and developing your creative self. But we want you to think about that project, problem, obstacle, whatever, and we want you to imagine and visualize how you're going to solve that, how you're going to do this project or create this item. And we want you to break it down step by step. See yourself doing each step. See yourself, getting the supplies. See yourself hitting the little barriers, things that aren't quite working, and how are you going to push through that? And just imagine the whole process. And then once you have done that, go take some action and do what you've imagined. And we would love to hear how this works for you. So you can tweet at us at Hancock Creative on Twitter, because that would be really awesome to hear how it's working. And you can also find us on Instagram at Hancock Creative Shop, or on Etsy, Hancock Creative Shop. and we'll sell you stuff because we love to do that. And so, and then also we're on Facebook at Hancock Creative Shop. So look us up, talk to us. We'd like to hear from you. I'd also like to thank Mr. Vinton Bain, who is here with us with graphocast.com. He is producing the podcast, and he's amazing. So thank you, Vinton. You're great. And we'd like to thank Gabriel Knight, who provided the music for us. You can get more of his music at gabrielknight.bandcamp.com. If you're in Oklahoma, Guthrie, Oklahoma, stop by and see us at Hancock Creative Shop at 116 South 2nd Street, Guthrie, Oklahoma. And all right, we would like to thank some people who took time to review and give us really sweet, nice reviews. And thank you so much to Miss Sarah Cade and Corey Casto. We really appreciate you taking time to review us. And if you love us, please go review us. If you hate us, well, you don't really have to feel the need to go review us.
No rush.
But Vinton here has told me that I'm to ask for reviews. So I'm asking for reviews. No, really. Either way, it's good to be reviewed. But
if you like what you're hearing and you want other people to be able to hear it, giving reviews will help us be pushed forward on the iTunes charts and expand our reach to other people. So if you want that to happen, reviews would be very helpful, and we thank you kindly for doing it. Now go forth and imagine.
Yes.
yeah, I like it.
I know.
Great. Bye.
This has been a Graphomania production. If you would like to hear more podcasts, go to graphocast.com, graphocast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Graphocast and like the Graphomania page on Facebook for news and updates.